Hey there guys, hey there everybody. This is Xavier Lee and this is the JDM Overload channel. So this is the third video I've made so far since I said I start making videos again. So I am on a roll. You know, usually it takes me about, 2 or 3 years to get around to making another video. So this is a huge deal. So if you're new to this channel, we talk about cars on this channel. It used to be imports only, JDM cars, Skyline, Supra, Celica, whatever. We talked about JDM vehicles, but now we talk about all types of cars. Anything that's car related, we'll cover in this channel. So if you like that kind of stuff, make sure that you hit the subscribe button because I'm going to be making videos every week. So today's video is about my R34. And if I'm not looking at the camera, you'll have to excuse me. I'm actually driving. I'm in Seoul right now. So I want to be safe. So I'm going to keep my eyes on the road here. But anyways, we're going to talk about my R34. It was a R34 GT. I got it in 2018, I believe. And in this video, anyways, before I go into all that, I'm going to talk about why I got the car, how I got the car, all the efforts I made to keep it, and why I eventually sold it. You might find it interesting if you live here in Korea or you're about to visit Korea. So what kind of car was it? It was a R34 GT. I believe it was a 1998. Now, the unique thing about this car, it was a two-door manual, and it actually had the RB20DE. So I purposely chose it for that reason. I'll talk about that later. So the R34 GT is a very rare car, and it's not in a cool way where it's like, man, this is like a one of a kind car, like a Porsche 911 GT4 RS or something like that. I think that's the car. Just something you don't see in a while, and it's like super special, super fast. Probably has some advanced handling capabilities. Nah, it was nothing cool like that. It was just a very rare car. It didn't have a turbo. It was a kind of small engine. It wasn't that bad. It was a 6-cylinder, so it had some get up and go. So I found this car on a Japanese, I wouldn't say auction site. It was just a website that was selling older Japanese cars. It was actually called Japan Partner. Now, if you look at the ratings of this website, they're not going to be very good. They're going to say that it's a complete scam, or they didn't get helped, or they didn't get the car they wanted. I think I had a friend who said he got a car with a really crappy paint job. So you're going to hear some bad stuff about them, that they're just not legit, that they're not going to really, help you out or whatever. But to the contrary, I had a good experience. So basically, I picked this car out. There were several R34s that were for sale. I think there was a GTR, and it was kind of crappy. It was like a R34 GTR 1999 or 2000. I don't remember what year it was. I should know, but I forget. And it was like 40 grand, and I wasn't about to drop 40 grand on something that I wasn't sure if I could get it or not, or what kind of condition this thing would be in, because I know that you can put a lot of money into a GTR. So I was just like, that's out of question. So I was like, what's something I can build up? Now, I had several choices. There was some sedan I could have chose, and you know that I respect all the Skylines, even the G35, if you can call it a Skyline. But I like the 4-door Skylines. I guess I'm fine with them, but I saw that was like $1,800, and it had the RB25 in it, turbocharged. I don't believe it was a manual. It may have been, but I was almost gonna get that one. And then I saw the Paul Walker looking Skyline, and that was a car I bought. I was like, I could have this 2-door, beautiful Skyline, perfect paint job, and I can get this for a total of, and just guess, what are you thinking? What, 10 grand, 20 grand? No, I got this thing for $5,000. Okay. So there was a black R34. I believe it was a GTT, not a GTS, because there's no such thing as a R34 GTS. It doesn't exist. It's a R34 GTT. It had RB25 DET, but it was automatic, and something about it just felt weird. So I could have got it. It would have been faster than the car I got, but I just didn't want another automatic after the R33. So I asked about the car. I didn't really settle on a price because it was already set and then put down on the car. Actually, I paid it all up front. And then shortly after that, they're like, we're gonna, I called them on the phone, and they were very polite, and I'm in Korea, so I just called them directly with my phone. I didn't have to use Skype or anything like that. I just dialed them up, and they always answered. They're always super nice. They never tried to rush me, and the guy assured me that I made a good decision. He promised me that he would do all he could to make sure that the car was in running condition, that all the fluids were there, and you know what? For the most part, he was telling the truth. I'll get into that later. But anyways, the problem started, and it wasn't a huge problem, but the biggest problem was when they shipped it. So there happened to be a hurricane going through Japan at the same time that I bought this car. Me being on the impatient side, I'm like, when the heck am I going to get this car? So it was 1 week, 2 weeks, and they finally put the car on the ship. And I waited. It was another week, and I saw that the boat was on its way, and they kept asking for documents. And what they didn't tell me is that they were partnered with a Korean import company, and that's how they were handling my car. So, like, I would say into the third week, I got suspicious and nervous, and actually found the name of the boat, and I found out that they're basically just kind of chilling between Japan and Korea because of the bad weather. I was like calling them up, but they always assured me, they're like, you're gonna get your car, you're gonna get it soon, so don't worry, like, you're gonna get the car. So finally, after a month, I got the car, and that was such a beautiful experience. Like, it wasn't beautiful at first, because first thing I did was I went to the import company, I filled out some documents. That took about an hour, and it was like it felt like it was like forever. Like, I went through like 30 pages, it felt like. So I did that, and then they had to get some other type of document, and then finally they said I was good to go. So they took me down to another place by the dock, right by where the car was. And we walked by all these cars, and you could look and see cars being driven off the boats, and it was like just this really cool scene that you don't see too often. It just reminded me of the first scene out of the Fast and the Furious, the first movie, where like that dude is walking up with the phone, and he's like, I got a real bunny load and it's coming your way, or like he had a really weird accent or whatever. But anyway, moving on. There my Skyline was. It was just sitting there, and it was like almost too good to be true. The paint was perfect. Like, it looked like almost like a new car. It had tons of writing and papers all over it. You could tell it had been on that boat for a while. And then I realized that the battery was dead. So I was like, crap. And fortunately, they're used to this. So the workers there, they had this like special charge vehicle, I guess, that it just, they drive around with this thing, and it's just made to service cars on the spot. And one of the biggest things it had was like it could charge cars like I mean, I guess like any car can do that, but it was just set up where you could easily just like charge a car off of it. So they charged it for about 10 minutes. We waited around. I was like, do you know what car this is? And they're like, we don't care, basically. They didn't say that, but they're just kind of like, oh, Skyline, don't really know what that is. It was idling a little. Idle wasn't so good, but that was just because it had been sitting around for a while, dead battery, so it warmed up and it sounded great, and you could tell that they were looking at me like, why is this guy so excited about this like super old car? So anyways, didn't matter. So I drove away, and then I'm driving down the road in this car, and it's like I didn't bother to take anything off it, so it still has all the papers all over it. It still has all the writing, and it just looks like I just straight up stole this car from the boat or something. People like are staring at me. They're like, what is this like foreign dude with this car with stuff all over it? They're like, what the heck is this? And it was just so funny. I wish I had more video of it, but it was just very crazy. I'm used to the car already because I've driven like multiple Skylines, but it was just like, it just drove a little bit different, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But anyways, so I get home, and I don't want to go through all the details of like bringing it home and all that, and that's all boring, but I noticed instantly that it didn't have brakes. Like the brakes were completely gone. The tires were bald, and like the windshield, excuse me, and I realized that the windows were jacked and they wouldn't like go back up because they were getting caught on something. So I was able to ship some parts overnight. I overnighted some parts from Japan, which was really like a couple of days, but I shipped some brakes from Japan. That cost about $300. I got some new tires. That cost me about $500, I want to say. Got brand new tires for it. And I fixed the window thing, or did not fix the window thing myself. So after that, it passed inspections, no problem. Everything was running just fine on the inside. And from there, there's not really a lot to talk about. I drove her around for about 2 years and just drove like any other car. I mean, it's definitely sporty. I mean, as sporty as you can be for a NA 6-cylinder engine, straight inline 6. So I had some weird encounters in it. Like one time I was driving in the middle of the country, and this Korean farmer dude is like, oh, that's a nice car, man. And I was like, you know what this is? He said, yeah, man, it's a Skyline. And he just kind of drove off. So I had that once in a while. You know, some people did recognize it. Some people, like especially the Americans, they didn't take so kindly to my car, because they're like, well, it's not the GTR, so therefore it's not the Skyline. So it was like mixed bag, you know, like some people liked it, some people didn't, and you know, most people didn't even know what it was, because I was in Korea. You would think Koreans are kind of caught off guard by someone driving on the other side, but I just almost never got too many reactions. And you know what, I wasn't really looking for reactions, I just wanted to enjoy the car. And the issue, the reason I had to sell it is that according to a policy I fall under, I'm only allowed to have 2 cars at one time. So I had bought another vehicle, and I might talk about that car in another episode, but that was for my wife, and I had to either sell the Mustang or the Skyline. And to me, unfortunately, it wasn't that difficult of a choice, because I had a pretty much fairly new car, very low miles, very powerful, very comfortable, and then I had that classic, you know, JDM vehicle, and it was fun to drive, fun to own, you know, but I just wasn't giving it the love that it deserved. And I thought that'd be better just to, you know, sell it to someone that could appreciate it and have the time to take care of it. And I put it up on Craigslist, and I put it up on Facebook. And I had a lot of inquiries into it, and you know what, I'm not gonna lie, I sold it for, or I tried to sell it for around 12 grand, but you know, some people didn't like the price, some people didn't care, and in the end, I think I reached a pretty good deal with another American here. He got the car from me, and yeah, he still has it to this day, and he said that, you know, basically he'd like to make some videos about it. He's just a very positive guy. He wants to try to take it to Germany with him. And yeah, I think that I sold it to the right person. And one thing that was very interesting is that this guy had never really driven a stick when I sold it to him. So there was a learning curve, and I think that was a good car to get started in, because, you know, it's fairly easy to shift, not very heavy clutch, drives very easy. So another thing that I wanted to talk about is my attempt to keep the car. So I was like, well, maybe I can somehow get this on the Korean economy. So I talked to a lot of agencies within the Korean government, and they basically told me that it was possible. So this is the key thing. It is possible to keep a foreign car in Korea that you didn't buy off the when it was new in the Korean economy. That's the Korean specifications, because they have Mustangs here. They have a lot of not JDM vehicles, but Japanese imports and German cars and all that, but they're built to Korean specifications. So they told me that it is possible, but there's a couple of things that made me want to rethink doing that. So first of all, it had to pass like several inspections. So the first one was some sort of structural test. Another one was it was called a vibration test, and there was a actual like emissions inspection that I had to go through. So basically they said almost no vehicles passed that the first time. So there's a company that would help you get through it, but every time you failed this inspection, these 3 inspections, it would cost $1,000 the first time, and then $500 each additional time you tried to take the test. And like I said, almost no car ever passed the first time. So the company was charging about $3,000 to go through this. So I was like, well, I guess I could do that, but then I have to pay for all the things that it needs, all the structural modifications that I don't think it needed any, or the engine stuff. So then I was like, maybe I'll do this. But then I found out that on top of that, you had to get an inspection every quarter or every 6 months on top of that inspection. And I was like, okay, now I'm not liking this too much. This kind of sucks. And then I had to get Korean insurance for it. And once it all added up, it added up to me paying way too much for a car that really at the time was, not super valuable. And I'm not sure if it was really worth keeping. So I even tried to go the show or display route, because I found out that there weren't too many of that car made that year. Sorry, I got to move over here. So another thing is that if you're in a foreign country like I was, luckily I had resources where I could go fix my car fairly easily. But if you're in a foreign country, you might not have that. In my case, I was in Korea. There's not parts immediately available for a Nissan Skyline out there. It just doesn't work that way. So I had to order them. You're not going to find a lot of mechanics that are willing to work on a foreign car. I mean, they are there, but you're going to have to go out your way to do it, because there's just not a lot of Skylines out here or JDM vehicles. So there's that. And then what else? It's just, having an older car here in Korea, it just kind of doesn't look great for you. Just kind of, unfortunately, they don't know what Skyline is, so it just kind of makes you look kind of poor, And like I said, I didn't really care about image. I just cared I had the Skyline. It was freaking awesome. So overall, like, I didn't really regret buying the car. I enjoyed the 2 years I had driving it around. Would I do it again? I'm not sure I would, because it was just kind of a big hassle importing the car, taking care of it, getting insurance, and all the legal stuff. I still had to go through that, even though it was almost like for sure that I would be able to register the car. All the stuff dealing with the old car and stuff. So I'm not sure if I would do it again, but it was like one of those experiences that you can tell people, hey, I was in Korea, I drove around a Skyline. It's very unique. I was glad to have done it, and I hope that you made it through this video, because I do like to ramble quite a bit. But if you like videos like this, please let me know. If you want to hear about something else, or you want to talk about another subject, or if you want me to make some more informational video, more entertainment oriented, let me know that as well. If it's your first time, make sure you subscribe. Be sure to leave your comments on the bottom. Ring that bell, I guess, as some people would say. Set your alerts up. And anyways, I enjoyed talking to you guys. As always, Like, I appreciate that you guys are still watching my videos, and you guys have a nice day or night. Later.